so everyone can see. And cool. Now you are going live on YouTube. We are recording. So you can start sharing your screen and you can start with your GCPs. As I said before, he's going to give an space for Q&A, and it's going to be an interactive section also. But ask as many things as you want, because he's the TL of AC inside ECB Brazil. So the mic is all yours.
Hi guys, let me share my screen. Tell me in the chat, how are you guys feeling for today? Are you excited to know more about a little bit about auditing? I'm very excited to be here with you guys. Can you see my screen? Yes, okay. So I'm very, very, very excited to be here with you guys. I'm very happy. VICO is being such an amazing conference. I think we are learning a lot with it. But for today, I'm coming here to you guys to talk about a little bit how the audit system in Isaac Brazil works. And feel free to talk with me in this meantime. But okay, who I am, why am I here? Well, my name is Ricardo. You can call me Rick or Rick, as we say in Brazil. I'm team leader of audit and compliance for operations in ECB Paranauê, that is the ECB in Isaac in Brazil. And I'm going to be your facilitator today, and I'm very happy again. Thank you guys for being here. Well, before we start, I want to tell you some things that I need you to keep this in mind while we are doing this session. First, I want this to be an interactive space. So feel free to talk in chat, to make comments, to ask questions. I'm all yours for this hour, for the next hour. So feel free to talk with me. I'm a little bit needy too. So please talk with me in this time. Take notes. I would like that you guys took notes. Why? Because as Lilo said, I think we do our audit system is very different of what the other the majority of the others entities are used to do. And I want to help you guys to have inputs, insights, next steps of what you can do in your entity. So if you see something that is nice and that you could implement in your entity, take notes so the session can be useful for you. Write down your questions. You can feel free to ask them in chat. I will be reading the chat all the time. So write down your questions in the chat, or if you want to wait for a specific moment to ask it, it's okay. I just want you guys to leave the session having the most inputs and next steps and questions answered. So please write down your questions so I can maybe help you guys with something. I want to be useful for you guys today. And like I told you before, but I want to freeze this because it's very important for me. Feel free to interact in the chat. I want to talk with you guys. Okay, so what are you going to do? First, I'm going to tell you a story how we overhauled the audit system in Isaac in Brazil, and why we did that, and how was the process, how you guys can do something like this in your entity if you think it's needed. Then I will talk about specifically what we do exactly, how we do exactly our audit system. Then I will talk a little bit about our interaction with the networks, how we locate them, how we empower them to use our audit system. And I'm not going to talk too much about this because we will have parts in this conference that we will talk about education specifically. I will talk more about the audit system itself instead of the education, but I will mention it because I think it is important. It's a very important topic. And in the end, we will talk about the difficulties, um, because it's not going to be easy, and I think we can share with each other what are the difficulties that you have in your entity, I have here in Isaac Brazil, and maybe how we can help ourselves, and or how we are doing, what we're doing to deal with these difficulties, so we can all um, how like grow together and work together in a good audit system in in all Isaac, not only in one or two entities specifically. So let's begin talking about audit overhaul. We when I was elected TL audit and compliance in December, no, in the end of November and in the beginning of December, and we thought, okay, we need to do something because the we need to implement the APIP, we need to implement the compliance matrix. We want the LCs to follow not only the APIP but the AEPP too. What we are going to do, and we began to study a lot about compliance, a lot about governance, a lot about auditing. And one thing that we saw that we didn't do for a long time here in Isaac Brazil, and if we wanted to be compliant, we needed to do, was to constantly change. Our team, our auditing team, for many and many years, audited the same documents, looking for the same things, telling the plenary the same things, but this wasn't working for a long time. It wasn't working because the needs of the LCs, the needs of our EPs, the needs of all of our stakeholders changed, and it's normal because we are living a very different time from what we lived 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And it's not only because of COVID; it's a lot of things changed in our entity and in Isaac in general. So we needed to adapt. It doesn't make sense to follow an audit system that is not reviewing the real risks of your entity. So we had this in mind and we said, what are we going to do to change things and to make things better so we are being more useful to evaluate the risks of our entity. We started with a few um, things that we needed to do to be compliant, to have an Isaac Brazil that is compliant. What are those things? These things. First, we need support of the higher administration, and this is something that our ECB chair, Michele, or Mitch, um, tell us a lot, because the high administration is the people that are going to implement the compliance and our internal policies in practice in their LCs. So we needed their support. We needed to be true to our internal policies. Our documents were not evaluating the real policies of Isaac in Brazil and Isaac International. What I mean by that, um, we weren't evaluating the risks that we had in this with the documents and with the audit system that we had. We also concluded that we needed everything clear and written so people could understand and have somewhere to look for when they were having questions about how to audit and how to be compliant in their LCs, and we need to be accountable. People need to know exactly how we are doing in auditing, in compliance, and so they can track and see, okay, I'm doing this right and I will continue to do this, or no, this is not very good. How can I improve my deliveries? How can I improve my LC to it so it can be more compliant? What were the solutions that we found for these problems? First, chats with LCPs and MCs. Because if we had a legislation what we were we went there and we wanted to tell them more ideas and what we wanted to do with our audit system, but they had to approve. We weren't doing this alone. They had to approve what we wanted to do. So we did a lot of chats, a lot of emails, a lot of WhatsApp talks. Like we went in their WhatsApps and told them, "Do you have any questions? Feel free to ask." Then we had chats individually in groups, with all the network. We had a lot of talks, and this not only made them understand what is the importance of the audit system that we wanted to implement, but they also gave us important feedbacks and important inputs so we could do the best audit system that it was possible in that time. Another thing that we wanted important to change is that we had to audit processes and not documents. What do I mean by that? Of course, we will see and review documents. This is obvious, but that it's not the document itself, but what it represents. For an example, a contract, OGX contract of approval. It's not about the contract itself. It's what it represents, and what it represents, the process of approving an EP at a local level. We wanted to audit a follow-up emails. It's not about the email itself, it's what it represents. It represents that we are asking for feedbacks for the EPs. We are looking forward to help them with their experience. We care about what they are passing through in their realizations and before their realizations and so on. So that I think that is a very important mindset that we wanted to have in our new audit system. We audit processes and not documents. The document, of course, it's a proof that the process is going well, but it is not the most important thing. The most important thing is the process that we are auditing. We have an audit booklet for the network where it tells everyone how exactly they need to do auditing in their LC. We don't have a specific process that they need to follow, but it tells them what are the minimums that we expect from each document and from each process that they have in the local level. They need to be free to implement that auditing booklet however they want in their LC, but in the end, they need to at least follow the minimums that we expect in order to have a LC, a entity that is following the internal policies. But this booklet was reviewed 100 times. Why? Because it needs to be complete. People need to find over there everything that they need for auditing. So we reviewed. We elected a team from the network that was going to be responsible only for reviewing the changes that we were doing this auditing booklet. They read the booklet, they gave us feedback, and they were LCPs, VPs from various backgrounds of the network. And in the end, we could do an audit booklet that was good, but not complete yet. We are in the constant um, process of reviewing this booklet in order to it be complete. But here in Isaac Brazil, at least, we can change this booklet whenever we want. Our LCPs need to approve it in a legislation. So we write down what we want to change in it, and in the next legislation, we show for the LCPs in order so they can approve or not. But like I told you guys, we talk a lot with LCPs, and they understand the importance of everything that we are doing, and we are changing our audit booklet. So, in order to be accountable and to be transparent and show everything that the LCs need to do to be an Isaac, to be an LC that is following the internal policies of Isaac, we needed tools that could show them every time ongoing how is my LC and what we need to do different in order to be more compliant. So we started using Podio to be more accountable and to have a better what is the word, accountability of what they were doing. I will show a little bit more about Podio in a second. And the sheets, Podio is a very good accountability tool, but it's not very visual. Like people can't see the general things that are happening. They can only see specifics about each EP. So we exported the data from Podio and put it on sheets so people can visualize it better with graphs, with sheet itself, dashboards, and other tools that they can better understand the data that we are showing them in Podio. And I won't lie to you, it's demanding. It's very, very demanding. We had a lot of work to do, and we still have a lot of work to do to better implement our audit system. The changes began in January, and we're still in the process of changing things. So we had two legislation. In the first one, people weren't understanding even with our chats, even with our emails, even talking with all 42 LCPs of Isaac in Brazil individually, people weren't understanding the importance of what we were doing, because in their view, we were going to make auditing more difficult, but that it was make it was the objective. The objective was to make it easier and more simple, but people weren't viewing that because they were too afraid of change. We had this audit system for at least 20 years in Isaac Brazil, so it's normal to have conflicts of, but it was always like this. What is changing now? And this sort of thoughts in the plenary. We needed the ICB validation too. We brought ICB members to talk with our LCPs and our MCs about the new audit system, so they could see that it was not, we weren't inventing these things. It was all predicted by the APIP, and we need to follow the APIP. Other thing that another thing that is very demanding is having people that don't want to understand, or that they don't understand and they don't want to understand, and not only that, they do not do what we ask them, like, please read the new audit booklet, and if you have questions, talk with us. They weren't answering our calls or questions, or they weren't reading the audit booklets. So it always have you guys will always have people like this in your entities. There are people like this everywhere that don't want to understand the other views of the scenery, of the ambient, but we need to challenge ourselves to understand how we can work with these sort of mindsets that are present anywhere we go. And we had a timeline of implementation, we had educational cycles, but in the end, things were not going as we planned, but they were going. And this is what is important. Um, you need to do concessions, you need to um, give up of some things that you wanted to do in order to have a cohesive entity with everyone, or at least the majority of people, understanding what you need to do as entity to improve your audit system and your compliance in your entity. Not always going to be exactly how you ECB chair or TL audit compliance want to have in your entity, but the important is to find middle grounds to the things that you're planning can go a little bit forward. And sometimes we had to take a step backwards in order to take 2 steps back. Sorry, sometimes we had to take a step backwards in order to take 2 steps forward. Is exactly what I'm saying here to you. Maybe things won't go to plan according to plan, but you need to see what is going right and how you can capitalize these things that are doing well in your audit system. Okay, let's go to the second part, how we did it, how we do it in practice right now. And I wanted to remind you guys to don't forget to write down what can be your next steps, because right now I will talk a lot about things that maybe you want, you think, oh, maybe you think this is very different how we do it right now in my entity. So I can't, I'm not listening to what he said because it's very different and it won't work here. But maybe you can take inputs and, I don't know, maybe ideas of what you can do in the next years, or what you can do based on what you're doing at what we are doing here. I don't know. Be open-minded with this topic, so maybe you can take inputs and next steps of what to do, maybe not exactly as we do it here, but maybe inspired of what we do here. Okay, first, before we begin, I need to tell you something again. In the beginning, we did not know exactly all the answers that we needed to answer, and the networks was demanding us to know about that, to know all the answer to all the questions that they had. We had to discuss a lot about improvement and plan for future implementations. Right now, we not right now, but last week we approved in the LCP's legislation a second version of our audit booklet, because the first one it lacked a lot of things. So you need to understand that if you're planning big changes, you won't know you can't know as everything that will happen with these changes, every consequence for these changes. So, like I told you, be open-minded to new ideas and things that you can do to better manage your system, your audit system. Okay, let's talk about timeline. We had 2 timelines of auditing in Isaac Brazil in operations. The first one is weekly audit. Its deadline is every Sunday, and it all begins when an LC declares a result in polio forms, via polio forms. So they had an approval, they had an open. Um, yeah, these are only the only results possible. If they have an approval or if they have an open, they declare the results in a forms, via forms. And then until Sunday, they need to upload the documents on Dropbox. The documents that are required to prove that that result was real and it was everything according to plan, um, according to APIP, according to our internal policies. So what documents we use in weekly audit? In OJAX, when approving, we ask for the approved contract, voluntary terms, that is something that we need because of a national legislation, national laws, and an alignment email if it is needed. Why this? Let's talk about each document here. Approved contract. Did you guys ever ask yourselves why do we have contracts? Maybe the first thing that will go in your mind is that we need contracts to put things in laws, like we are providing you that, you are providing us this, and these are our contract, like um, a legal contract. But not only that, the contract is also important to align with the EP certain conditions that its exchange will have, like how is going to be its, which is going to be its job description in that country, how many meals it will have, he will have or she will have in its exchange, in her or his realization, how is going to be the payments, does the project have TN fee, what is the value of this TN fee, etc. And if this approved contract has any information that diverges from what is written in EXPA in the opportunity, the LC needs to do an alignment email with ICX and the EP telling them, okay, the opportunity is telling us that the TN fee will be $100, but because of you guys are a corporation or you are our partners, you are not going to charge any TN fee with this EP. And then ICX has to answer through email too. Okay, we agree with that, and then we can put in motion, continue the process of approving and doing the contract. Why do we do that? Because sometimes we tell things for the EPs that they will have in their exchange, but sometimes they will not have what we told them that they would. Like I told you guys, sometimes the opportunity is saying the EP won't have accommodation covered, and the LC puts in the contract accommodation is covered. the chances of the EP having a very bad experience because of wrong alignments with him that the LC did with him, will make his experience not the best it could, or at least that follow an experience that follow the minimums and what was promised to him or to her, the EP. Okay, during the EP, during the realization, we ask for one document, that is the follow-up email. In the beginning of the realization, in the middle of realization, if it's a short-term experience, and if it's a long-term experience every month, and before the realization finish, we need the LCs to do follow-up emails. Why? Because we want to know which are the feedbacks that they have that the EPs have for the LC. We want to know how is going its experience, if he or she is liking the city, the exchange, the exchange, if everything about the job description is going as promised, if ICX is delivering the the minimums, the exchange standards, and yeah, things like this. For all documents, we have a model to be followed. So usually the LCs use this model, this standard follow-up email to send for its EPs. And we ask for the LCs to send this follow-up mail to Isaac Abroad too, in order to them to see that we have proof of communication with the EP, and that we are looking forward to know how is going her or his experience with them. And it's a great way to predict quality cases or cases of bad experiences, and so our case solving team can work before the cases begin. And because sometimes we audit follow-ups that the EP responds or answer. My exchange is the worst experience of my life. I'm not receiving this. So the audit team, the auditors, send this follow-up to our case solving team so they can enter with a solution, or with a chat or something as soon as possible with the LC that is having this EP. For ICX, when opening an opportunity, we ask for the open contract for the same reasons that we ask a contract for approval, for our JEX approval. We need to align with the opportunity provider exactly what will be that exchange, that opportunity that we are opening. What is going to be its job description, what is going to be its working hours, and so on, in order to be sure that the opportunity provider will provide what it's promising to the EP that we will approve over there. When approving, we ask for an expectation setting mail that is something that the LC needs to, an email that the LC needs to send to the EP and to Isaac Abroad, in this case OGX, telling them, okay, political conditions in Brazil is like this, our economic situation is this one, we are passing for a crisis, or no, we are passing through a very nice time. That is not happening, but okay. We need to align what is going to happen when the EP arrives in Brazil. What documents do you need to enter in Brazil? How is going to be your pickup, or I don't know. We need to align everything that will happen from the moment of the approval until the realization date. What documents the EP will need, how is going to be its experience, and what it can expect, what the EP can expect from the LC, which is going to be the TN fee, and things like this. So when the EP arrives in Brazil, he or she can't say to us, oh, I didn't know about that. Yes, you knew. We sent you an email, and this is going. We told you how the things were going to happen. And an important thing for this expectation setting email, we we ask for the EPs, we ask for the LCs, send this expectation setting email to the ECB with the answer of the EP. So we can be sure that the EP is aligned and he knows exactly what to expect when he or she arrives in Brazil. Another thing that is very important, it's something to for legal reasons, is acceptance letter. Some EPs that need visa to enter in Brazil, they need an acceptance letter in order to make their visa, to ask for the visas for the consulate. So we send this acceptance letter when approving. And this acceptance letter, why so soon? Is a question that we receive a lot from the networks. Why are you asking this acceptance letter that will be needed only for when the EP is going to make the visa, to ask for the visa? Why are you asking it right now, so soon? It's because the APIP says that all documents needed to visa, to DP, to ask for a visa, needs to be sent to the EP at maximum 2 weeks after the approval. So we ask for the network in the week that they are approving. When realizing, we ask for a COVID-19 test to be sure that EP is safe here, of course. Responsibility terms, that is a letter or a term that the EP signs saying, I know that Brazil is passing through its worst time during the pandemic, and I accept to go to Brazil even with these conditions, and Isaac is not responsible for my health during the internship, during the exchange, because we are doing we are living on crisis, but basically a crisis, basically. So the EPs are free to break their approvals because of that, but they wanted to come to Brazil anyways, so they need to be responsible with what they are agreeing. Another thing that we ask during the realization is the accommodation terms that are signed with the host. So the LC signs a document with the host of the EP. So the host can say, I will provide X amount of food, one amount of food, of meals, etc. And which is the period that the EP is going to be in his house or her house, the house of the host. And during the realization, just as OGX, we ask for follow-ups emails. So we have the proof of communication that ICX is doing its best to deliver a better experience for the EP. One thing that these follow-ups have, and it's very important, it's feedbacks from the opportunity provider. In these follow-ups that we send to the EP, the opportunity provider tells us feedbacks that need to communicate the EP. Um, I'm looking for, I'm reading the chat. I forgot to read the chat. Sorry, guys. Who is eating chips? How do you manage to be the leader of the best of the system? Thanks. Maybe to somehow declare unclear condition. Yes, true. If she needs a visa and how to get it. Okay. Feel free to talk in the chat if you want to. Make questions and things like this. I already aligned you about that, but feel free. So I told you guys that we have two operation audit systems, the weekly one, and now I'll tell you about the biweekly one, the biweekly audit. It happens, the deadline is every 15th of each month and last days of the month. And the weekly audit is retroactive. We review what happened in the last week, but the bi-weekly audit is preventive. We review, we look for what is going to happen in the next month, in the next bi-week of the next month. Okay, but which are the documents that we review during this audit? In OGX, before every document is before the realization, because as I told you guys, we ask for the documents 1 month before the EP to arrive. So before the realization, we ask for the health insurance, of course, as is told for us to do in the APIP. And one important thing is in the APIP says the EP needs to buy its health insurance before the realization begin, before the EP arrives in the Isaac abroad, in the other country, in the other territory. So this is why we ask for the health insurance 1 month before the EP realization. Flying or bus tickets, so we can see which period the EP is going to stay in Brazil or to stay in the other country. The visa, if it's required. OPS invitation email. It's a very, very important thing because it's an exchange standard and we need to deliver this exchange standard, that is preparation seminar. And the proof that we need to know, that we need to have in order to know if this LC is doing its OPS is an email that makes an invitation to the EP to his OPS. And that's it for OGX. In ICX, before the realization 2, we ask for the health insurance, for the flying or bus tickets, or, and this is a document that is very specific from Brazil, a foreign registration. Because if you're going to stay long periods in Brazil, we need this document to prove when you're going to arrive, when did you arrive, and when you're going to live. It's a very specific document from Brazil. The visa, if it's required, we ask you, of course. And this time we ask you for the IPS invitation and pick up information. Just as in OGX, we ask for the OPS invitation, we ask in ICX the IPS invitation. Why? Because we need to know if ICX is doing its IPSs. In this IPS invitation email, we ask for the ICX to add pickup information. So this EP will have his pickup by a member, by a VP, by a TL, or he or she is going to take an Uber, a taxi, I don't know. We need to talk with the ICX to talk with the EP, to specify how the pickup will occur. So the EP won't arrive in Brazil, not knowing what is going to happen, of course, and it's because it is a standard set by the IPIP. Another document that is very specific from Brazil that we need for legal reasons is IDT long-term internship commitment term, because we have laws in Brazil that says that internships must be connected to a university, a university. So we need the university, the LC, the opportunity provider, and the EP to sign this document. And if it's a short term, we need voluntary terms to the saying that um, the EP is working in a enterprise, in a startup of corporation and anything like this, but he or she accepts that this is a voluntary work, because our laws in Brazil um, don't it's not allowed to us to have internships, short-term internships by law here. Okay, so I talked a lot. I told you a lot of things, but I want to conclude this timeline session talking that with an example. The LC made an approval, made an open. Yay, open, yay, approve it, yay, everyone's happy in the LC. Woo! They have until the next Sunday to declare its results and upload the documents. In this example, I'm using this date, the 7th of February. Then until the next Sunday, the 14th of February, they are going to receive their auditing results in polio, in this EP card in polio. And then if they did something wrong with the documents that we told them to provide us, they have until the next Sunday to correct the necessary documents. In this case, the 21st of February. And the final result is going to be, they are going to know that their results in the audit in the next Sunday, the 28th of February. Okay, let me see the chat. I can't see the chat. Yeah, okay. Consider current situation. Have you thought of having vaccination compulsory proof too? Not really. We didn't consider, but it's a very nice idea, actually. Maybe we could do something like this over here. Because here in Brazil, young people are not vaccinated yet, so it's not possible to ask this for OGX because no one is vaccinated. No one with less than 60 years vaccinated over here. Just people that works in medicine and hospitals and things like this. But maybe for ICX we can, yeah, and also not in a lot of countries. Yes, Colombia the same. But it's something to consider. It's something to consider. Okay, but something that I need to remind you guys that this timeline is happening all the time. So in the 7th of February, people are doing, in the week of 7th of February, people are approving too. In the next week, they are approving too. So every time, every week, every day, we are doing audits, and people in the LC is doing too. Is a ongoing timeline. And the same is to the biweekly timeline. But this time is retroactive, like I told you guys. So if the realization is happening between the 28th of February until the 15th of March, the first bi-week of March in this case, they need to show us the documents until 15th of February. They need to upload the documents until 15th of February. So we can give them the auditing results until 28th of February. And then if there's something wrong with the documents that they provided us, um, they have until the 15th of March to correct the documents. This time, by now, the EP will be um, already in realization. So we need to be careful to not have EPs EPs having realizations without the required documents. And the final result will be the 31st of March. So, like I told you guys, this timeline is happening all the time. So they are we are when they are uploading the documents, we are auditing the last month, and when we are auditing the things that will happen in the next month, they are uploading things that will happen in the next month, and so on and so forth. This is an ongoing timeline. And you can think these corrections periods as sanctions. Like this is a sanction. To correct a document, it's a sanction. Because if they don't correct this document, they will pay a fine. That is another sanction. So yeah, this we guys, we here in Brazil, in Isaac Brazil, have this this culture of letting people to correct the documents, but we need to remind them that this is a sanction, and it's not the ideal situation to have to correct a document. The first delivery of this document should be the right one. Okay, let me see the chat again. Chat, it's not opening for me here. Okay, but I will follow on. Things that we need to have this timeline working like this. We need to export the data from Polio. I DTL, audit and compliance, divide the LCs in 4 auditors, and we have approximately 100 documents for each auditor each week. We have a sheet to track what is done, and the auditors put the results of the auditing in Polio to the LC to see. We have a coherence report for the network, so they can tell. So this coherence report will tell them if all the numbers in EXPA are equal to Polio. They need to be the same in order to. By this, we will know that we are auditing everything that is happening, and if we are not auditing everything that is happening, and this coherence report is incoherent, not coherent, the LC is freeze. I need to apply a lot of team standards with my team because this is a routine, and team standards helps a lot with establishing routines with a team. And I always talk with the network. I send them emails. I send them timelines, and I tell them everything that is happening every month so they can be aware. And I use a lot Instagram and WhatsApp groups to do these reminders and to talk with the network so I can be sure that they are not forgetting anything that they should do. And we offer constant support through WhatsApp. These 4 auditors that I have, they are coaches of the LCs too. So the LCs, the VPs, send messages to these auditors so they can ask things that they are not too sure about the audits, and anyway, things like this. Okay, I can't see my chat right now, sorry. So I will go on then to the third topic. And the third topic is very It's very fast. It's about interactions with the network. Like I told you guys, we will have a session and a day only for education. So I will not talk about this. I will not talk a lot about this. So we need to remind that the network is our customers. They are the ECB's customers. And as our customers, they are not always right, but they are our reason to be here. We need to take care of their experience as local auditors because they need to like to audit so they can have good processes at local level. We have 24 hours to answer our WhatsApps and our emails and 72 hours to answer a help desk that we have in Polio. I don't know how you guys say this in English, but it is basically a feedback form, but in English it's help desk or ombudsman that we have over here to listen to their complaints, to help them with the auditing, and do things that they ask us for us to do, um, like reviewing our audit. Maybe we audit something wrong and things like this. Every month in the national membership survey, we ask them for feedbacks and we ask them to give us an NPS. And I take this very seriously because I want my auditors to have a very high NPS, because if they having a good interaction with their network, the network will audit better, the network will be more compliant and follow the APIP minimums. We have an internal forms to register or errors during audit. So if an auditor find an error of other auditor doing its work, we need to register this so I can be sure that our audits are the best possible and we can review this and evolve our deliveries. We have education cycles every month to like we see what is going on with the network and what are their main difficulties, and we have education cycles based on these difficulties. We have one thing that we talk a lot, that is the materiality principle. What this means, that errors that don't pose too much of a risk, we can ignore in some cases, because sometimes define the sanction that we will need to apply in this LC is much riskier than the error that they made itself. They can easily access their results and see what are their sanctions, what are the LC sanctions, through a dashboard that we have. So they can see fines, how they are doing the membership criteria, what are the penalties that they are having because of their errors in the auditing. These two topics that I told you guys about the materiality principle and this accountability system, it's very important for auditing. If you guys read about, there is a document, an international document. It's not that doesn't have anything to do with Isaac, but it's an international document about principles of auditing. If you read this document, you will see more about this materiality principle and this accountability system. Okay, I really wanted to read the chat right now, but for some reason it's not opening here for me. So I will go on and I will talk about our main difficulties. I need to remember you guys that life's not a bed of roses. If you want to have an audit system that is very complete, that it has controls of everything, it will be very demanding. It will be very demanding, like really. I have some members of my entity here. I think two of my auditors are here in this session, and they can tell you guys that is very demanding. So challenge that we have, and you may have too when auditing, when having a such a huge huge auditing system? First, you will need human resources with programming, education, and marketing backgrounds in order to have better tools, better educational cycles, and better communication with your network. And this, we know that sometimes it's not possible to have these backgrounds, so we have to work a lot to learn. Sometimes you have too many tools to update, and what I have in like my tip for this is, if this tool is not essential, if it's like really 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 necessary to have this tool, erase it, don't use it. Put your time, put your effort in tools that will be very useful, because you can end up with a lot of tools to update. You will receive too many questions to answer sometimes, and sometimes these questions will be the same, sometimes from the same people, and this is very frustrating. But um, we need to stay, like, we need to have our objectives clear. Okay, people are having these questions, so we'll do an educational cycle only about this sort of questions. And yeah, you need to be very resilient, because it will be exhaustive to have the same questions from the same people every time. Sometimes you have too many documents to audit, and this will happen a lot if you have a huge volume of documents to audit, or if you have a huge plenary, or anyways, it can happen. So you need human resources to audit these documents. um, they are in this document that I told you guys that you can look in the internet, that you can find in the internet, that is about the principles of auditing. They have some tips too about how to deal with a huge volume of documents to audit. The network lacks of empathy for the ECB sometimes, and this is very sad. But like I told you guys, if you be transparent with them, if you work very close to them, if you talk a lot of them, this empathy will begin to appear. But in the beginning, everything that changes has resistance, so you need to be resilient. Stay strong. um, During transitions, we will lose a lot of knowledge in the ECB and in the networks too. So try to plan a transition that can assure that this knowledge, the most possible, the least amount of knowledge possible will be lost, because this hurts a lot. I had a transition, a very insufficient transition STL audit compliance, and this hurt me a lot, because I needed to learn almost everything from zero, from the point zero, and it was very difficult for me. And I the time that I was learning things, I could use to do education for the network, or interaction with the network, or auditing itself. So it was bad vibes. And doing education cycles may not be exactly what the network needs. Sometimes you think, okay, they are having difficulties with this sort of problems, with this sort of documents, or so I will have an education system exactly like this, an education cycle exactly um, about this, that they are having trouble. But sometimes this is not what they need. You think that it is, but it's not. And it is very sad, because you lost a lot of energy and time doing this. Sometimes you plan an education cycle, and when you apply education cycle, maybe when you planned, it, it would um, it would attack the difficulties that the network had. But when you apply the education cycle, that is not the difficulty of the network anymore. This is very sad. So you need to be very fast, very agile with the education cycles that you implement, and be sure that it is exactly what your plenary needs. But it's demanding, it's challenging, yes, but it's worth every drop of sweat. I swear for you, for yeah, seriously, is worth every drop of sweat. It's much easier to deal with changes, to deal with audit systems, than to have to deal with EP's problems. And anyways, facilitating compliant exchanges to our stakeholders is what will bring us closer to leadership experiences and achieving of peace and human potential fulfillment. Um, this is why we work in the end of the day. So have this in mind. You have your team to give you energy. You have your plenary to give your energy to give you energy. Use them to do that, and remember every day that everything we do, even if sometimes doesn't seem to, but it connects directly with our why, that is peace and human potential fulfillment. Even if it's very hard, don't forget that. I know that it's very easy to forget, even because auditing is a very repetitive work. But you need to, and when you're doing repetitive things, you sometimes will think less about why you're doing things. But don't forget, write down in your board, put that in your background. Remember your team every time about this. Put this in the beginning of every team team meetings that you have, because it's very easy to forget, and you can forget this if you want to do a good audit system. So we have some minutes, 10 minutes for questions before we end our session. Let me see if I can open the chat now. I will stop sharing because I can't see the chat while sharing. Whoa. Okay. Let me see. I audit and have back pain at the same time. Yes, I know. Me too. ECB's life. Most ECB auditors wear glasses. I can see why. Yes, because we look too much to the screen. You are doing great. Thank you for this. I am much obliged to. Thank you, Nidish. Sometimes is always. I truly feel these points. True words. Nice. So if you have questions about how we do something, or I don't know, how we, maybe some specific question that you have. How do you manage to be so handsome? I don't manage that, sorry. Okay.
Ricardo, this space was awesome. I even learned a lot of things. So thank you very much for this space. I really would like for everyone to ask anything that you want.
Yeah.
As you can see, the system that Brazil has right now, it's very complete. He also mentioned some issues that he had with his team while doing the process. So feel free to reach them. Feel free to ask anything now. Indeed, as Rick said, we still have 10 minutes. So please take advantage of this. I don't want to say a lot of things that I feel this GCP is and will be the best one in this cycle. So just ask anything that you want. And remember the last words that he gave about auditing and our purpose. Please do not forget that.
Yeah.
And really, ask him any comments. He also has some of his team members in here. So you can also ask him. He doesn't have any, Viola doesn't have any questions. He just said amazing performance.
And sorry for, I told you a lot of things about our audit system. I almost did the same topics that I tell that I talk with the LCs when I go to their LCs to do education cycles or yeah, sessions to them. So I hope that with the output of this session, you guys can inspire or do something with this. If you guys don't have any question, I have questions for you guys. Yeah.
Go.
Uh, oh, okay. Um, what do you think that your what do you think that your entity has in common with Isaac in Brazil while auditing? Let me check the chat. If anyone is saying something. Oh, I stopped sharing. Sorry, guys. But it won't be required anymore. It's a lot of information. Yeah, Majo. Sorry about that. But it's invaluable. Thank you so much. I thank you too. Thank you to be here. It was a great session. What do you think that you guys do in common? Please, at least one person tell me. I really want to know. Exchanges. Nice one, nice one. Okay, so I have another question for you guys. What do I hope that you guys have an urge to do something after this session? Like, wow, this inspired me doing things. I hope so. What things do you want to do after this question? After this session? Thank you so much for such an amazing space. Maybe revise our audit system. Yeah, nice. Having a team meeting that you can bring your team, or I don't know, maybe yourself, revises, put that in paper, put that in a sheet, everything that we do and how we do it. And then um, one thing that we took the compliance matrix, put it in a sheet, and in the right column of it, we wrote in which document we could find that violation of compliance matrix. This helped us a lot to see which documents we needed and how we were going to audit these documents, modify our education cycle. Nice, nice. It's a very important part of the audit system. 50% of our, I saw that in the ECB Academy, 50% of our work should be auditing and the other 50% should be education. So we need to, it's not always possible, but we need to work a lot in order to this to happen.
I know we have only 5 minutes left, but I do have a
Okay.
question for you.
Yeah, feel free.
Because you talk about how you were engaging in your plenary, but I want to know, because you said around 100 documents per auditor per week to review.
Yeah.
That's good. But I want to know, like, how do you manage to keep your members motivated to keep working?
I don't
Because
know.
I know they can be like, I know they can be really mean, they can be
Yeah.
really good, they can be really bad, they can be disrespectful, and also the work of an auditor is exhausting.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how is that your team keep working? Or I don't know if someone here in your team wants to say that in the last 5 minutes that we have.
Yeah, nice one. Very nice one. I think this is the most difficult part. And the only thing that I can tell you guys is leadership. This is when leadership is needed. Even with all the difficulties, I need to be the person. Even if I am exhausted, I need to be the person that is going to the team meeting. We have team meeting every week, and I go there and tell them, okay, we did this right, we did this wrong, and how we will do better next time. Everything standard, like team standard, apply team standards, have incentive systems, have ways to incentivize and to acknowledge the good work that specific people of your team is doing. O2s, personal development plans. This is very important. And we have a very good management tool that is the team standards, and I use them a lot. I think maybe there are other methodologies that we could use, and I am studying in order to do that, because I think the moral and the energy of the team is not very high because of the demand. We have a lot of demands and things to do, and like you said, dealing with the network is not easy. They can be mean sometimes, and they can tell us things that we didn't need to hear. But team standards and other leadership and management systems helps a lot. I have Anna and Guga here if they want to tell us something that I do that they like.
Yeah, there's one point that I would like to compliment, because for me, I'm the IGT coach, and for me, it's a lot about like we feel the support from the team. So, for example, when it comes to the real work of auditing, we know that we have the documents that we have to audit in that week. So we kind of own our responsibility. We know that if we don't do that, there is a deadline that will not be respected. So we really feel the responsibility. And in the end, we know that if we have like any problems on doing that, or if anything's happening in that week, we have the team and we know very well how to share and how to help the other when we need it. So this is why it's not like so tired doing this all the time. And also about like when we talk about network and people that can be mean, yeah, we know how to share things very well. So we are also very supportive. So we know when something is really mean, or we know when it's a feedback that we really have to take into consideration. So the ones we have to take into consideration, we do that. But the ones that we don't, like we have the team to support us and say, just don't mind about that, you know? So yes,
Yeah.
for me, it's a very important point.
We need a team that is a support system for each other. We need to be connected and really help each other, because in the end of the day, it's what we need. We need people to support us and to incentivize us, because it's very, very hard. I sent in the chat my number, my WhatsApp and Telegram number, if anyone wants to contact me to talk to. I love talking. Maybe you guys saw that. So feel free to talk with me and to ask questions too. And I sent my email too. So feel free. Oh, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for this space. I'm very happy to be here. Very, very, very happy. I think this VICO is being excellent. Thank you so much for Lilo for the day of auditing. I think it's being very useful for everyone here. And thank you guys for the interaction. I think the questions were very important for everyone here, and I hope I could help you guys with at least one thing, at least with one input. Thank you again.
Cool. Thank